Hello everyone. In the last video on obesity, we explored the connection between obesity and stress. In this video, we will explore the connection between our basic metabolism of food and weight gain. So our basic metabolism of food to a very large extent is controlled by the hormone insulin. It is one of our most important metabolic hormones. So what happens? Let's understand the process. When we eat foods, especially foods high in refined carbohydrates like white rice, even the wheat atta that we have today, a lot of sweets, etc. When we eat these kind of foods, these get digested and then absorbed. After digestion, these carbohydrates turn into glucose. When they absorb into the bloodstream, the blood glucose starts rising. Now, high level of glucose in the blood is not good for the body because, amongst other things, high level of glucose is highly oxidizing. It causes a lot of damage to the body. So immediately the body wants to start moving the glucose from the bloodstream into the cells. This is where the role of insulin comes in. So when body senses increase in the level of glucose, it starts secreting more insulin into the bloodstream, right? What is the job of insulin? It is to instruct the cells to start absorbing this glucose from the bloodstream. It's like a key that opens the door so that the glucose can enter the cells, the trillions of cells in the body. However, due to a variety of factors, one of them being an imbalanced diet, which is too high in carbohydrates, refined carbohydrates, and too little in healthy fats and proteins, the cells of this body start becoming resistant to insulin. You can think of it like the key starts getting stuck in the lock. It is unable to open the lock. So the insulin comes, the body secretes the insulin comes to the cells. It tells the cells to absorb sugar from the bloodstream, but the cells are not able to do it. So when the cells are not able to absorb enough sugar from the bloodstream, the blood glucose levels in the body start staying higher for longer durations of time. When the body senses this, it responds by secreting even more insulin because that is the only mechanism it has to move sugar or glucose from the blood into the cells, right? Now you see a vicious cycle is starting, where because there is too much insulin, the cells are becoming resistant to it. And how the body is responding to that is by producing even more insulin. As more insulin is produced, the cells become even more resistant to it, right? And as that happens, the blood sugar levels start staying higher and higher for longer. Now, this is the dynamic that leads us towards type 2 diabetes. But we are not talking about diabetes right now. We are talking about weight gain, obesity, right? Now, this leads to the next important function of insulin in the body. Insulin also functions as the primary energy storage hormone. It instructs the body to convert a certain amount of the food that we have eaten into a long-term form for energy storage. And what is this form? Fat, right? So now this glucose that is flowing in the bloodstream, high level of insulin start converting this glucose into fat and storing it away in the body. Yes, you heard that right. It is the glucose, it is the carbohydrates that we eat, the starch, which gets converted into fat and gets stored in the body. It is not fat that makes you fat, okay? It is the glucose, it is the starch, it is the carbohydrates that make you fat. Now, because of the high degree of insulin resistance in the cells, what happens is throughout the day, 24 hours, your insulin levels stay elevated above what they should be. This creates another dynamic, okay? This reduces the secretion of another hormone known as glucagon. Glucagon is the hormone which is responsible for the opposite pathway, that of conversion of fat into glucose or other forms which can be used for energy production in the body, essentially for burning the fat, right? So when insulin levels are always elevated, the secretion of glucagon is always suppressed. So when insulin levels are always elevated, glucagon levels are always suppressed. So the opposite pathway hardly ever becomes active. You are only storing fat. It's a one-way street. But the body is not able to access this fat for production of energy. It's like a perfect double-whammy, isn't it? On one hand, high levels of insulin are converting more and more of the glucose into fat, and on the other hand, it is also suppressing the body's ability to access this fat and use it as a source of energy or fuel. Now, most of us have been led to believe that it is eating of fats that makes us fat. This is far from true. Okay, this is not true at all. As you just understood the mechanism, it is eating of carbohydrates which turn into glucose in the body. That makes us fat. Okay. Not only eating carbohydrates, but eating large volumes of the wrong type of carbohydrates. The fat that we eat, as long as it is of the healthy variety and not trans fat, etc., has hardly any role to play in our gaining of body fat. On the other hand, if you really want your body to start losing weight, one important step is to actually increase your consumption of healthy fats, because you need to train your body again. You need to help your body remember that it can also use fat as a source of energy, as a fuel. So that's all for this video, and I'll see you again very soon. Take care. Bye bye.